All right, let's get to the top news story of the day. That's right. The Writers Guild of America West has officially called a strike.
That breaking news from Hollywood. Entertainment writers now on strike. What that means is production is halted on many of your favorite shows as Writers Guild members push for better pay on streaming shows and better working conditions. It's an action taken by more than 11,000 writers all across the country. And the last time this happened, back in 2007, Hollywood lost more than $2 billion.
The WGA says almost half of its TV writers work at the minimum salary, up from 33% from a decade ago. But studio producers say their budgets are already maxed out.
I wonder why they're maxed out. Of course, the budgets are always maxed out. They're never not maxed out. That's how budgets work, okay, under capitalism. Yeah, you're supposed to go to the profit margins now and give a larger percentage of the profits to the writers themselves. That's the problem. You can say, oh man, sorry, we're fucking maxed out all day, every day. But of course, no matter what happens, like, it's quite literally because you just don't want to shave away any of the piece of the profits. Why does streaming affect writers like this? Doesn't Netflix still need writers? Guys, streamers are one other avenue of distribution that popped the fuck off in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years, okay? And as is the case with any other vertical, what ends up happening is the companies, especially with like higher levels of consolidation, because the streamers themselves also own the IP, usually, which is like built-in consolidation, corporate consolidation. They have shittier contracts there. A lot of the reason why these guys are picketing right now is because they want similar contracts that they have with respect to residuals and with respect to like how you make money as a writer off of these shows on television. They want that to also be implemented in the streamer side. You should look at some of their demands. We're going to look at some of their demands right now. We have proposals that would prevent the studios from eliminating the writer's room. They refuse to discuss them. We have proposals to protect screenwriters from free work that would cost them nothing to implement. They rejected them and offered an educational meeting. We propose that comedy/variety daytime writers on streaming have the same pay and protections as they do on TV. Instead, they offered us a minimum that would apply to virtually no shows on the air. Oh, and also, they want to start paying you by the day. We propose that AI not be used to undermine our work. They rejected our proposal and offered an annual meeting to discuss advances in technology. Wow, a meeting. Thank you ever so much. An insulting counter, just dripping with contempt. I mean, that's precisely what it is. Rejected our proposal, refused to counter. We brought writers' desperate stories of not being able to make a living in this business to the AMPTP, and that was their response. Contracts are different because streaming doesn't have any rebroadcasting, and so all the money is made right when it drops and not over time. Yes and no. There's also like different ways of doing residuals in the rebroadcasting ways that they can do it, because that IP still stands. Like you can resell it, you can resurface it, you can retool it, reutilize it. There's way too many chumps on Twitter chirping about how writers aren't doing anything and how they can just use ChatGPT to replace them. Even Casey Neistat knows how soulless AI script writing is. Yeah. Look, there's a couple different ways that people are very upset about this. You know, they're upset because like, oh, this gets in front of my treats. I love my treats. What the fuck? Like, you're not going to let me watch my MCU? Fuck you. Right? There's like that, which is incredibly stupid. There are the people who are saying, oh my God, you know, you already get paid so much. What the fuck do you want? Which is so stupid, because if you're getting paid $5 million a year, what do I always say? That means someone's getting paid $1 billion off of your work, okay? There's a lot of people saying it's all Hollywood, who cares? These guys are still laborers, they're still workers. And there's a lot of people who are making qualitative assessments on how, these guys are shitty at writing anyway. An underrated part of our current media company dynamic that's led to the strike is how miserable the executives within these companies are. They hate this new system as much as we do. The plural of anecdote is not data, but the advantage of being in the business 25 years is that I have executive friends who have risen through their ranks. They have lunches, and I sit there and listen. Each one explains the unbelievable dysfunction at their particular workplace, the bosses who don't understand or even like scripted entertainment, the open scorn which they hold the execs who've actually made television. A friend of one streamer says, I just called and canceled the show that by any metric had great numbers, and I literally can't tell you why. Multiple executives over the last 2 years have told them they're not actually sure who their direct bosses is. Because of the constant pointless restructuring, they know releasing a staff that was too small to begin with at the end of 10 weeks and having one writer prep, shoot, and post every episode during a season is a bad way to make television. They know it. They say it. But in an ironic twist of fate, they can't do anything about it because they're not unionized and they may be among the thousands of layoffs made not for any real purpose, but to play accounting games so their bosses can eke out yet another quarter of growth. That is ironic. But part of it is literally due to the corporate structure of Silicon Valley backed streamers. The writers don't want the strike, but a lot of other Hollywood workers see it as the first step in reversing calamitous pattern that's coming to lay for themselves. Directors, actors, or even our exec frenemies. I'm not going to get more specific because a remarkable number of my lunches and dinners start with, I'd get fired for saying this, but we know you're out there. And I say this with love. That's a good note. We'll look at it in the blues. It's capitalism, baby. Line gotta fucking go up. You don't understand. And sometimes the line go up in mysterious ways, especially in the stock market. And if your company is beholden to financial wheeling and dealing in a way that like even traditional studios were not prior to this streamer apocalypse, then, you know, then you throw in another layer of uncertainty. The writers are asking for a 2% raise. The studios say they can't do that. Here's how much these motherfuckers make. Ari Emanuel, the CEO of Endeavor, William Morris Endeavor, the agency that I am also a part of, I'm represented by, $308 million. David Zaslav, $246 million. Bob Iger, $45 million. Broke boy. Bob Chapek, $32 million. Last year, 8 major Hollywood studio CEOs made over $773 million in annual salary. That's almost $1 billion in annual salaries. Not talking about like fucking additional wealth that they have, their net worth or anything. CNN guest blast CNN owner's salary during on-air WGA chat. Let's take a look.
That run this industry that say, look, times are changing. We are not making as much money as we once did. This is not the golden era of television, although some of us would argue the shows are great. What do you say to them?
So I'd point out the fact that David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, which is, you know, the parent company of the network I'm talking to you on right now, was paid $250 million last year, $250 million. That's about the same level as what 10,000 writers are asking him to pay all of us collectively, all right? So I would say if you're being paid $250 million, Ted Sarandos made about $50 million last year. These companies are making enormous amounts of money. Their profits are going up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Talk to me when the CEO pay gets cut, because that's when shit is actually devastating, okay? If the CEO pays keep going up, that means the company's doing well. So why the fuck? If the company's doing well, why the fuck are the workers not being paid fairly? You know what I mean? Profits are up. Everybody's fucking raking it in. We don't know where it goes. It goes back into the market.
Ridiculous for them to plead poverty when the writers who are making their shows, some of them are not able to pay their rent or their mortgages. I literally know writers who have had to go on assistance because they have not been able to make their year. If you look at these companies, they're making more money than ever. It's the people who make the shows for them that are making less.
Adam Conover, thank you so much for coming on because you ruined everything. You may have just ruined my career, but I don't mind.
If you want to know where the picket schedules are and where the locations are, the WGA East location, Netflix Manhattan headquarters. This is for the WGA East. Here are the West ones. They're going to do one at Amazon Monday through Friday, 9336 Washington Boulevard, Culver City. At Tuesday, today's is happening from 1 to 5 p.m. Wednesday is from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday and Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and then 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. They're happening everywhere, all around at these times that I just gave you. They're either happening at Amazon, they're happening at CBS Radford, they're happening at CBS TV City, they're happening at Disney, they're happening at Fox, they're happening at Netflix, Paramount, Sony, Universal, Warner Bros. So there's plenty of strikes happening. And Plenty of strikes that WGA East and WGA West is putting together. I myself will be attending one of these as well. Oh yeah, we got more bank failures before I forget. First Republic Bank is the second largest bank failure in U.S. history. Let's fucking go.
Bank has become the second largest bank failure in U.S. history. Regulators have seized the bank, sold off most of its assets to JP Chase in a rescue deal as America's banking crisis flares up again. In a statement this morning, JP Chase's CEO Jamie Dimon says our government invited us and others to step up, and we did. He did note this will benefit JP Chase. We'll talk a lot more about it. But look, First Republic is now the third major bank to fail.
Yeah, no, totally. They hate consolidating and purchasing competitive bank at pennies on the dollar. They hate it. Jamie Dimon's like, oh man, I got my money up big today. And people think I did it out of the kindness of my fucking heart. It's so sick.
As part of this deal, JP Chase will assume all deposits of First Republic Bank. So when people go to the bank this morning, their deposits are safe. This all started to unfold several weeks ago after the failure of SVB and Signature Bank.
It's funny because, like, it's another big corp of fucking up. It's another big corp of fuck up. And then our solution, because we're American, is not the government coming in and just being like, okay, you're done with this. You can't play with this toy anymore. You keep fucking this up. It's that you're like, oh, okay, we'll just subsidize the larger corporation to now buy you at like super cheap prices. That's fine. That's perfect. That's like literally, that's our best solution, actually. No better solution could exist in the circumstance. So don't suggest it, you fucking asshole.
What basically happened here is that after the failure of Silicon Valley Bank a few weeks ago, a lot of depositors just simply decided that they didn't want their money at medium-sized banks, and they moved that money either to the very largest banks like JP Morgan or Bank of America, or to money market funds.
I don't think he's talking about people that have $5,000 in their bank account. There are a lot of people in the United States of America, because there's a lot of wealth here, that have more than $250,000 in their bank accounts. It comes as a shock to you when I say that, because you're like, what? I have minus $35 because I just got hit with an overdraft fee. What the fuck do you mean? No, I think a lot of people have, and a lot of companies have, way more than $250,000 in their bank accounts. And they realized, oh fuck, unless we are with one of the largest banks that are too big to fucking fail, okay, we need to pull this shit out of here right now. Those special loans that we were getting, those special privileges that we were getting from First Republic Bank is no longer, especially with the interest rates being the way that they are, okay, those special rates that we are getting from First Republic Bank are not so special anymore, especially if it's technically not FDIC protected. Now, these big banks don't have FDIC protection over $250,000 as well, obviously. However, that doesn't really matter because, which by the way, I do think that they should offer some level of like insurance over it. But the reality is that there's a lot more people than you would think that have this kind of money in their fucking bank accounts or something close to it that basically moved into too big to fail banks. That's what happened. When they're covering the story, I feel like they cover it as though, like, you know, the plumber decided to fucking move his like $1,000 savings or $5,000 savings or the college fund that they have for their children away from First Republic, and it really fucking tanked their bottom line. Like, no, I think it was a lot of rich people that consolidate all their wealth in one fucking account, whether it's because they're lazy and stupid, like some people that stream on Twitch, not me, of course, or because they get favorable deals from the banks when they have a lot of money at these banks, and $250,000 or more, like $1 million in a bank account, doesn't do much for you if you're with Chase or if you're with Bank of America, but $1 million in a bank account does a lot for you if you're with First Republic, right? And First Republic is a big bank still, but they're not like a systemically important, like too big to fail bank, right? So BOFA can get away with like being like, oh, you had $1 million in a bank account? Sick, whatever. Who gives a fuck? Talk to me when you have 10 million. That's when you can get a concierge service for yourself. However, First Republic probably offers that, careful and very personal relationship to middle America, or not middle America, but like upper middle class individuals who are business owners, for example, favorable loans and the like. When you do that, which probably creates a massive level of clientele that is over $250,000 in the bank, that will move away at the first sight of fear and the first sight of uncertainty.
The federal authorities in recent weeks have made clear that they will protect all deposits regardless of size.
By the way, I told you this when the SVB shit happened, and people were yelling at me about this too. Of course they have to do this. Are you fucking crazy? That's the entire reason why the FDIC exists in the first place. Doesn't matter if it's more than $250,000. The $250,000 cap is a product of a older time anyway. Like, if adjusted to today's wealth in America with inflation on top of that, it probably is more than a couple million, that higher limit. But it doesn't matter. It's unlimited. The reason why it's unlimited is because if it's limited, then it defeats the purpose. The entire purpose of the FDIC's existence is so that there's confidence that you can literally put your money in a fucking bank and know that it's not going to go away. You know what I mean? We have the debt ceiling, ladies and gentlemen, ties nicely to this. U.S. could run out of cash by June 1st, Yellen warns. And I don't know how we're going to save this. Janet L. Yellen, with another L, the Treasury Secretary, called on Congress to raise or suspend the debt limit so the United States can continue paying its bills. That's not a long time away. The United States could be unable to pay its bills by June 1st if Congress does not raise or suspend the debt limit, putting pressure on Biden and lawmakers to reach an agreement to avoid a default. The warning over when the United States will hit the so-called X date provides new urgency for Democrats and Republicans to find a way to lift the borrowing cap and break a standoff that threatens to rock financial markets and upend the economy. This wouldn't just collapse the United States economy. This would collapse the global economy. Okay? Maybe stop spending so much. That's so funny. Like telling the American government, thank you, Lene Marie. Well, there you go. Never mind. Maybe stop spending so much. These aren't even things that we've spent on. We already spent the money. This is debt. But you're right. Remember, only 2 OECD nations have a arbitrary debt limit, a debt ceiling on the planet. It's United States and Denmark. And Denmark's is so fucking high that it's unimaginable to hit. The United States, on the other hand, has one that it hits all the time. And then they have to do this back and forth political football to be like, oh, I want you to, I don't know, stop giving money to poor people. Like, I want you to cut entitlements or else I won't, or else I will collapse the global economy. It's great. It's fire. There's nothing wrong with that. It's normal. Ladies and gentlemen, after 2 decades in power, Erdogan's presidency could come to an end. Before we move on to fun stuff and fun content.
Under 2 weeks, Turkey's president will face his biggest electoral test as the country goes to the polls. Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been in power for 2 decades, but recently his popularity has taken a hit due to Turkey's ongoing economic crisis and his handling of a devastating earthquake.
Is the opposition a CIA asset? Brother, it's Turkey. They're all assets of the American State Department. There is no person in Turkey that's against American intervention in their country. We are a NATO nation. They won a long time ago. And by we, I mean Turkey, and by they, I mean America. Turkey is a client state. Was the coup attempt real? Yeah, I do believe that was an American coup attempt. Even if you're a client state, America still's okay, but we want you to be more of a client state. You know what I mean? No matter what, Erdogan does have or did have popular support with the coalition that he crafted with the MHP party, the ultranationalists. He was able to literally fucking, scrounge up at least 51% support. It's crazy. But it's true. There's still a fuckload of people. It's if you claw your eyes out at the way that Trump supporters behave after a school shooting, think about school shooting activities happening all the fucking time. not like mass shootings all the time, but like, how do I describe it? It's like a multitude of different school shooting style failures of government happening literally every single day. And then motherfuckers being like, nah, actually, he's still the best. And the rest is like, you know, outside English agitators. They are spies for the British. Like, just absolutely unimaginably psychotic fucking ways of like looking directly at a fucking systemic failure and being like, you know what? It's actually Erdogan is still the best though. Like, oh hell no, Erdogan is still the best. Fuck you if you don't agree with it. And it's been like that for 20 fucking years. Like, it's just crazy. I don't remember a lot of the focus on his more authoritarian tendencies until after the coup. No, because, okay, well, there's a reason for that. Because that was a Western-backed, Western-facilitated coup. But leading up to the coup, he was still very much a fucking authoritarian shithead. He was just not on, like, really bad terms with the West. As... you know, as far as theatrics goes, for foreign policy, he's still very much like a NATO guy, you know what I mean? But also in the aftermath of the coup, he restructured the Turkish form of governance to a presidential system so that he could maintain his power and prominence. So he utilized the failed coup d'etat to the best of his abilities by declaring martial law and then holding a referendum vote to change the Turkish constitution and to like terminate the parliamentary power structure that they had, even though he was still like leading the nation. He basically codified and made permanent his power from the presidency. Is the theory that the coup being planned by Erdogan himself to maintain power a plausible theory? No, it's the reason why I don't think it was created by Erdogan himself is because who was engaging in the coup? It was Fethullah Gülen people. Fethullah Gülen, alongside Recep Tayyip Erdogan, was able to, put his tentacles into every facet of Turkish government, all the way down to like police forces, like entire brigades in the fucking military. Fethullah Gülen is an American CIA asset. Originally, they were homies. Fethullah Gülen and Recep Tayyip Erdogan were homies. They're from the same clan, I guess. And then I think America moved and basically wanted to utilize the parallel government that they had overseen and seize power. The only part of the Turkish side that I would concede to was that like Erdogan utilized it to his advantage. And maybe even had prior warning that it was going to happen and let it happen so that he could like take advantage, you know, of the chaos that ensued afterwards. Like a 9/11 type situation. Yeah. Not wrong. Fethullah and Erdogan are two different branches of the Nakşibendi cult in Turkey, which dates like 600 years. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like the contemporary iteration of this group of individuals. You know what I mean? It's like a cult. But remember, that happened, and then he did a referendum to change the Turkish constitution, and he won the referendum. He won that shit, meaning like there was popular support once again. Aren't they Wahhabist extremists? Fuck no. Ironically, as a matter of fact, the reason why Fethullah Gülen, at least in the CIA circles, the reason why Fethullah Gülen is promoted and was built up was to be a counterbalance and that was going to promote a more tolerant form of Islam against the Wahhabist extremism that the CIA previously was responsible for. Fethullah Gülen is seen as like America's oopsie. I guess we have to like create another counterforce to the original counterforce that we created that is too reactionary. That's the reason why Fethullah Gülen's schools are all around the country in the United States of America and all around the world. So, you know, that's always a cudgel that America will use against you, even if you are a client state. They'll always have like fail-safe measures in place. What do you think about the theories that Erdogan's intelligence basically knew the coup attempt was coming and let it happen to gain popular support? I do agree with that. That's what I'm saying. I think like as far as that is the only conspiracy that I will lend credence to, because Erdogan did retaliate in a very calculated manner. He was no stranger to jailing his political opposition, jailing academics, jailing people all the time, because before the Fethullah Gülen marker became like a very popular reason for jailing whoever the fuck you want, before that, there was Ergenekon, right? There was always, like, in Turkey, there's always been this understanding of a parallel government. Even before Fethullah Gülen was, chosen to be the main villain, which he is, by the way. He is a fucking villain, okay? But even before then, there were many different cases that were launched. There were many different cases that were launched towards, like, people who oppose the government, that they considered to be a part of a deep state or a parallel government, and they were already jailing motherfuckers, like, left and right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was not... Erdogan is no stranger to doing that.